everybody, it's Derek and we're back in my new hammock lab looking at a whole bunch of new gear. What I've got here today is a complete lightweight hammock system from Outdoor Vitals. They're from Southern Utah. So it's a little dear to my heart because that's where I was brought up and raised, was in Southern Utah. So it's kind of fun to see a company come out of there. And what they've got here, they've really done their research. We've got a whole suite of gear that really hits home what people who love lightweight gear are really looking for. Now, if you followed me at all, you know that I've researched and reviewed a ton of gear. And I'll tell you, I'll be honest, the more I get requests for gear reviews from just kind of run-of-the-mill hammocks, I'm not that terribly excited because a lot of these companies are just pulling kind of copycat hammocks that are like Eno knockoffs, Grand Trunk knockoffs. So I was really excited because Outdoor Vitals has something that is not your typical copycat hammock that's being blasted over on Amazon. So what I'm doing right now is kind of tweaking this hammock just a little bit to show you some of the varieties and methods to make this the best system if you're going to take advantage of it. So we've got a really lightweight bug net, a very lightweight hammock that includes straps, carabiners, and whoopee slings, and also a tarp system. Just a couple of highlights before I go into some detail. The tarp is a sill poly with a PU coating. Very cool. So it packs down light and it has all those advantages of like a sill nylon, but with less stretch. The hammock is a single panel. Love it. 10 feet long, very comfortable. This is their plus. What is it? Their solo. They have a solo plus, and a double. This is the solo plus. It's a 10-foot long hammock, single panel design. Fantastic. And then the bug net is actually a really cool design. It's really lightweight, but it includes there's a bug net, but it's also kind of a bivvy. Like the underside is actually a very lightweight. I think it's a 10 denier, like a winter shield. So it combines a little bit of some wind protection, weather protection, but also in a very breathable, lightweight fashion. Let me give you some of the specs real quick. The bug net, it's a tube style. I'll show you that in a minute. It works with hammocks. You really need a ridge line to work with this style of hammock. They do include this shock cord that you can use as a ridge line if you don't have one, which actually their hammocks do not. So this ridge line comes in handy. There's a regular 10-foot long and also an 11-foot long bug net. 7.6 ounces for this bug net. Now, if you're comparing that, this is a fully 360-degree bug net. So typically those bug nets are coming in at 14 ounces on the light side. This is half the weight, which is pretty cool. The Solo Plus, like I said, it comes with a seatbelt style strap, aluminum carabiners, and whoopee slings. The stock is 9.5 ounces, which is actually really great for a lightweight. It's not the ultra lights, you know, the 5 and 7 ounces, but those 5 and 7 ounce hammocks are short. This is a 10-foot hammock that's, with all of the suspension, you're still less than a pound. It's like 15.5 ounces with all the suspension, which you can even go lighter. You know, these carabiners are pretty lightweight, but you could ditch these if you wanted to. I'm going to show you some of that configuration. It's an open style hammock. The tarp, as I already mentioned, it's a sill poly, and it's got almost a 12-foot ridgeline. It's interesting, when I looked it up, I was expecting it to just be a square tarp that you pitch as a diamond shape, but it actually has catenary curves, so it's a little less configurable than I would have liked, but it still works great as a diamond, which is what it's designed to do. So as a solo packer, it works really great. So what I wanted to I'm going to zoom in here in a minute and show you is the different configurations for the hammock itself and why you might pick a different configuration. So let me zoom in and show you that. All right, here is the Outdoor Vitals. This is the Solo Plus, and when I got it, it actually came without any of the suspension installed. So there's a couple of different options. You can actually, with the whoopee slings, see on this end, I've attached the whoopee sling directly to the hammock. This is a very common method that a lot of people do. It provides you know, your adjustability is right there at the end of the hammock for the whoopee sling. The way that the manufacturer recommends is to attach the carabiner through. So what I've done here is, to make it a little easier for myself, I've gathered the end together so that it's a little easier for me to just throw this carabiner through, kind of feed it through. All right, whew. All right. So this is their recommendation, to put the carabiner through here, and then taking the straps have loops on both ends, and then you would take the whoopee sling and attach it directly, the fixed eye. All right, so we've got the fixed eye and one end. You would just connect those together like so. Now if you leave it like this is a simple lark's head. What I like to do is to push this back over. You actually get a square knot. It's a little easier to loosen if you need to. And then, you know, you'd go around the tree, and then the whoopee sling would connect directly to the carabiner. The adjustment then is against the tree side. Why would you pick this option over another? Well, one thing I like about this is that I found over time I prefer to have the suspension separate from the hammock for a couple of reasons. One is it allows a little bit more modularity. If I want to switch out the suspension, I don't have to worry about it being attached to the hammock. And also it provides an attachment point that's really close to the hammock. So if you have a really short hang, you don't have a lot of distance to eat up. With whoopee slings, you have a lot of fixed, unadjustable space from right here where the whoopee sling loop begins all the way here is kind of a fixed end, and it's really difficult to eat this up. You can eat this up a little bit by kind of, you know, you could wrap this up before you pull it through and kind of eat some of that length up. But this berry here, and they've got a long one here, I'm guessing that's almost 9, maybe 10 inches. That's a lot of space that you can't really get rid of. So it is a lightweight suspension. You can use other suspension types if you want. Since this hammock is pretty modular, another option that I might use is just throw in a fixed loop. This is not the right diameter, but a fixed loop like this put through the hammock would also provide an adjustment point. So I've got my hammock set up now. I'm going to leave this side with the whoopee sling inside, the gathered end, carabiner on this side. I'm going to go outside and show you how that works. And I'm going to hook all of these up together and show you how they work as a team. So let's go outside and take a look. All right, we're in the backyard. We're going to show how to set up all 3 of these together. We're going to start with a hammock, bug net, and tarp. Now, the proper way to set up a tube style bug net like this is you want the opening to be on the head end, so that way you pull it up like a blanket or a sleeping bag over you, and then you're going to cinch it closed over your head. It's a lot easier than the foot end. That would be the same if you had a winter style, or in this case just a regular bug net. The mitten hook connected to the whoopee sling and cinch it closed. Keeps the bugs off. So this is essentially set up now. Now, if I pull it closed, you can see it's a little windy here. Mesh netting on the top, really lightweight. I think I said 10 or maybe 15 denier. Fabric on the bottom. It's a breathable, almost feels like a silk sheet. It's really lightweight. The nice thing about this though is that it doubles a little bit better as a windscreen, but you can also turn it up here if you need. This can then convert more into like a winter sock just by flipping it upside down. Kind of prevent a little more of that heat from evaporating off, trapping a little bit more of that dead air space on the top. Now you may not see it on the video, but I've already attached a ridge line above my hammock, and you can see this ridge line is really high off my hammock, which is great for, again, open air mode. If I wanted a storm mode for this type of a hammock, or excuse me, this type of a tarp, I would take this ridgeline and bring it all the way down to the ridgeline of the hammock if I was expecting a little bit more storm. And you're going to see why here in a second, because this tarp, because it's a diamond tarp, you have less protection on the ends, but there are ways to mitigate that. This tarp has a seam that goes across the bias of the tarp. Now this is it's an easier way to manufacture a tarp like this, but because it's been reinforced with grow grain around the edges, the grow grain is just, it doesn't stretch at all. It's really stiff. But the fabric in the middle is going to have a little bit more stretch, but also because of the bias. Now the bias, you typically have on a fabric a cross section, right, where the ripstop grid, but across the diagonal on that, there's going to be a little bit of shearing, a little bit of stretch. And so you can see there's a little bit of floppiness here at the top. That's because the fabric is being stretched across the bias of the fabric. So it's not so much a stretch in the fabric itself, it's just the way that the fabric is being manipulated across the ripstop. Hennessy hammock tarps are like this as well. I'm not a real big fan of this type of a design just in the construction. I'd much prefer that the fabric was actually sewn across the ridgeline so that this seam was across the ridgeline. That creates a nice tight ridgeline. But you know, that's just the way this guy or these guys manufactured it. Now I can pull this down and out. It's got line locks on each end, including the ridgeline. It makes connecting everything really simple. So there's the entire setup. Now, the sun is going to rise over here at about 5 in the morning, a little bit earlier. So what I'm going to actually do, since I don't need the rain protection, is I'm going to flip this over so I just get a little bit of a sun shield on this side. All right, let me hop in and show you how the bug net works. Again, the fabric on this hammock, I've already spent a couple nights in it. It's really comfortable. Again, I love the single panel design. It's lightweight, packs down really small. So it's a joy to sleep in, especially when you hang it right. Okay, in the hammock, I'm just gonna pull this out. It helps before you pull the hammock over you, find the cord lock. It should be right on the middle of the bug net section, because this is what you're gonna reach in and pull tight. Because it's designed lightweight, there are probably easier ways of grabbing this, because it's a very small cord lock with the fuchsia netting here. All right, this is the tricky part. Imagine doing this on the foot end. It's a little easier on the head end. Oh, but with that ridge line, I now have a lot of space on top of my head. I can, if I need to, if it gets cool, if I see if I can grab this and throw it, kind of twirl it over me. It's gonna trap a little more heat. If I want a little more air space on the top of my head, you know, I can pull this diagonally over. Oh, that's nice. So now again, it is designed to be a lightweight system, so there's compromises in the design. This bug netting is one of them. If you want more headspace, adding a tie out to the side and pulling it out would help a lot in giving you more space, especially when you lay diagonally like I do. Reaching up. Okay. Thanks again for watching The Ultimate Hang.